All right, guys, it's me, Mr. D. I want to talk to you today about judges, how they're protected by. I was talking to this judge one day, well, recently, and I'll get back to that, but he told me they were protected by levels, codes, boxes, and costumes. And I've known this judge for about, I'd say, 12 to 15 years. And I work out with him sometime. I switch gyms, and we ran into each other about 6 months ago at this new gym I'm working out in. And we were talking. He didn't watch some of my videos, and so we don't really talk about this, but today it came out, and he just said, I want to give you a little insight on what's going on when you're in a courtroom, and how there are so many mistakes that people make, and they just don't realize the mistakes they're making. Like, for one, he said, let's talk about their codes. And he was telling me that, and this I kind of thought about it. I didn't know for sure, but their codes are a copyright. They own the codes that we recite when we do our paperwork. And he said a lot of times people infringe upon their copyright, which they could go after you just for that alone. And what I mean by that is, he said that when you become a lawyer, and he didn't want to tell me, but I said, yeah, you become a member of the bar. And I said, I know what the bar stands for. And he said, he tell me that. And I said, it's the British Accredited Registry. And he said, well, I'm not gonna, tell you if you're right or not, but I'm like, okay, whatever. It doesn't matter, but I know. And so he said that every member, you go to school, get your JD, and then you take the bar. When you pass the bar, you become a member of this bar association. And there's rules and regulations and that you have to follow. And when you become a member of the bar, you are now representing Great Britain on American soil. And that's what I actually said in that part. But he said that when you become a bar member, you have to pay dues to the bar. And when you become a member, you have the right to use those codes and rules and regulations and all that stuff that you find when you're in a courtroom. Everything that they cite belongs to them. And he said, that's why a lot of times when you go into court, you can't represent yourself without a license. And he said, you're practicing law without a license because you're in their court using their rules and codes, trying to cite things against them that they created. So, and he was telling me, he said, you can go through that, you can be totally right and still lose the case because you use the codes and regulations and rules that you didn't pay for. So it's a copyright infringement. So now they can get you on that. But he was just saying there's so many pitfalls, like levels. We were talking about levels. There's different levels when you go into a courtroom. The judge sits at the top. Then you have the witness stand. You have the court reporter. You have the jury. You have you have the lawyers where the lawyers sit. And then you have the people that are just sitting in there in the courtroom to watch what's going on. But if you think about it, they're all different levels. And I just kind of came up with a scenario. This is kind of when I was talking to him, I brought this up, and he said, it's pretty much exactly like this. And I said, so imagine that you're in a building and the judge is on the top floor. The witnesses are on one level. The reporters on one level, jury's on everything, it just goes all the way down. So you're on the first floor, but because you're on a different level, the judge is on the top floor, you're on the first floor. The lawyers can traverse any floor. They can go up and down, talk to everybody, but you can't because you're on the first floor. So no one can hear you. Even the jury is at a floor higher than you. So you can say whatever you want to say to the judge, even though the judge is sitting in front of you. His level, he's sitting up on a podium that's higher than you, and levels protect these judges. So that's why you have to hire an attorney, because an attorney can go through all levels and speak to everyone. So if you have to say something to the judge, you have to say to your lawyer goes all the way up to the top floor to say something to the judge, and he comes back down. And the same thing with a witness. The witness is in a level just below the lawyer. So, I mean, the judge. So the judge can hear a case, and it's up to his discretion what he wants to do with it. And besides, you're also in a tribunal with them. So if you go in there as a United States citizen and you don't qualify yourself or who you are, your standings, and what you're doing in there, you've already fallen into one of those traps. And usually when you go into a courtroom to address a situation like a ticket, you're already at your second appeal. That's an appeal right there. You've already been found guilty just by accepting the ticket. Now you have to go in and deal with this appeal. But I would just, accept that for value to return it or do the what is it called? 72, you have the 3-day right of refusal with any ticket to get rid of it that way. But also we're talking, and he said the other thing they're protected by is boxes. And there's a thing called the 4 corners rule. So if you go into a courtroom, look at one of the old-fashioned courtrooms. You go in there and you'll see everything is in little boxes. You have the witness stand, one box. The jury is in one box. The lawyers are in a box. You just can't. Sometimes you can see it, but they're in a box. The judge is always in a box. And under the 4 corners rule, that anything's in a box does not exist. So actually, when you go into a courtroom, it's a fiction. You're not, it's nothing there. And so that's why a judge will say, we want to send him for a psychological evaluation, because they can do it because you came into that courtroom and you're arguing with no one. You know what I'm saying? You're there just, but people are in there, but you don't realize the game that they're playing with. So, and a judge said that, back to levels real quick. He said that if you and I could be standing face to face, nose to nose, and he could take a piece of paper and stand on it, and now he can no longer hear you because he's at a different level than you are. And that's just, he was blowing me away with this stuff. I'm like, oh man, come on. And so they play these tricks the whole time. And that's why, we talk about these remedies and all these different things. That's why you have to know who you are, because this game, it changes constantly, and they have the right to change the rules, which I don't think is fair, but that's what they do. So that's why you have to understand who you are and where you are. And when you understand who you are, you take control of everything you write, you say, you do, and you tell them this is how it's going to be. Because really, when you think about it, you can't play their game. You really can't, because they have so many rules. There's over 60 million laws and rules and regulations, which they really can't make laws, but they're just codes, rules, and regulations. And we, citizens, believe that a law is lawful, but anyway, so I was just talking about that judge, but he was just talking about they're protected by levels too. So if you go in a courtroom and a judge is sitting up here and you tell them, I'm doing this and I'm here and I'm doing all that, you can say all you want, and as soon as you get done, you say, all right, 30 days in jail, because he cannot hear you unless you qualify who you are. The other thing that he told me about is costumes, which I think, a lot of people go after judges. They want to sue them for doing different things. Judges also are protected through their costume. So a costume is a robe. When you see a judge, you will never see a judge come out and sit on a bench without a robe, because that's part of the costume. And when he's in that robe, he puts it on, that protects him or her. Yeah, I'm just saying him because I've always dealt with male judges, so that protects him. It's like if you go back and look at, I watched this show, Midsummer Murders or whatever, and it's just kind of stupid, but they have a lot of court cases in there, and the judge will be up there and they have these wigs on. And I'm like, you can tell that this is a cartoon. And when you go into court, when you see that, now you know what you're in. They wear these wigs, they wear the robes, and they have all the different levels. When you go in the courtroom and see that, you know you're in a fiction. You know that none of this is real and you need to take control. And that's how you get your remedies. And you can actually do it on paper, but I would say I would try not to go into any of their courtrooms, because there's so many tricks unless you submit your paperwork and then you say, look, my paperwork is submitted. That's for the record, or I can read it on the record. But I'm not going to get in this conversation with you, because the first thing I want you to do is to get an argument. And the moment you argue, you're going to jail. So, but he said that's another thing that they're protected by. Lawyers wear suits. That's why a lot of times a judge won't allow a lawyer to participate in a suit unless, in a case, unless he has on a suit. And that's when you look at that, and the lawyers always wear a necktie, and a necktie represents the chains, like a slave was chained around the neck and say, you belong to me. And that's what, when the lawyers wear neckties in the court, that judge can look at that and say, you belong to me. That's why when you're in that courtroom, that lawyer is not really working for you. The lawyer is under the corporation. That you say that judge is like the CEO of that corporation, and he can tell your lawyer to shut up. He said, I'm going to fine you, get your client under control, whatever. And so if you think you're going to get a fair shake in one of those courtrooms, it's strictly up to how that judge is feeling. Now, people tell you that, I've got constitutional rights or protected rights, and you go on and on with everything you want to say to them, but you're in their court. And I'm going to tell you, and they run their courts. So the best thing to do is to go in there and qualify yourself. You are either the authorized representative for the defendant. You're not here to argue any case. You're here to make your exemption available for set off and settlement of any charges that are related with this case. That's all you want to do. And you shut up. So I'm not here to argue with anything. You don't know all the rules and codes and regulations. So just, say, look, I don't know all this stuff. You dragged me into this courtroom. So I'm just, I'm trying to tell you, I want to stay in honor. I'm trying to stay in honor and just do the best I can to help you settle this debt. So I'm making my exemption available for you to do. So now what do I do next? Judge, I'm asking you to help me, because we all want to stay in honor, and we know that this is a charge and what it's really about, taxes. Because every case, there's a bond that has to be put in place to cover the taxes. But anyway, I'm getting off subject. But I just I wanted to say this to you guys, because I had this conversation with my lawyer. Well, my lawyer's not my lawyer. It's a friend of mine I've known for years. Actually, no, I didn't use him. Before I first got into this stuff, I had to use a lawyer. I got railroaded because I got locked up and they set my bail at $300,000. And come on, man. And if you know what I did, I'm just out there grinding, selling weed, shit like that, But anyway, so I just wanted to run past that with you guys. So this is Mr. D, Mr. D's Classroom. Remember, happiness is a choice. Choose to be happy, and you are whatever comes after I am. But I got to, and if you'd like to get a hold of me, I had another video. You guys just go to the site, and if you want to talk, book a call. It's just $69.95. And because I'm getting a lot of emails, and I can't answer all this stuff. So just call, and it's a 20 to 30-minute call. And when I first started doing this, I think I paid $1,500. I paid $2,000. I paid over close to $10,000 to get the knowledge I have from different people. And one guy charged me $4,500. But this is, I've been doing this since 2005, 4 or 5, almost 20 years. So, it's, if you want to learn, sometimes you got to get a mentor. It's up to you. But anyway, like I said, happiness is a choice. To choose to be happy, and you are whatever comes after I am. Have a wonderful day.